Psalm 133. Behold how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. It is like the precious ointment upon the head that ran down upon the beard, even Aaron's beard, that went down to the skirts of his garments. As the dew of Hermon, and as the dew that descended upon the mountains of Zion, for there the Lord commanded the blessing, even life forevermore.
Then Jesus came to them and said, All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Therefore go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
When I look at our military buddies, a lot of us are successful. A lot of us we came from a certain fabric. The job that we had to do, not many of us are not doing well, right? But then you got to think about when you group it, and I'll tell you this, again, same thing. I used to hang out with this one guy. He worked for me, and I think the worst time that I ever had as an entrepreneur and in business was when I hung out with him all the time, and I was always at his house, and I wasn't around. I could never find people that thought like me. So eventually I had to have a social life, and I was hanging around a different type of mentality. And it actually made, I wasn't buying no real estate. I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't hustling hard. It was weird. But so what do you think happens in these ghettos when there's people that all live the same way? Same thing in the city, full of Caucasians. There's nobody telling nobody, even on my Facebook page, I could turn around and only certain people will ever click off on the motivational stuff or the inspirational stuff that I put up. And I guarantee you there's people that a lot of them see it. They're not going to touch it because they don't have no interest in it, because so many people are outnumbered that think a certain way that they see what I put up as being cocky. They look at it and they go, look at this guy again. He's telling us that we can go out and we can be anything we want if we put our mind to it. Just like you put your stuff up, certain people won't even touch it because of the religious portion of it. And so you wind up having your base, and so you'll come through and sign off. Mendez will come through and sign off, but we all have something in common. We minorities, and we came from nothing and we came to something. Then you got people, there's some people that made it, but they're envious. I don't know if am I making any sense there?
You're perfectly making sense, and mostly going back to one of my points that I said earlier is how much are we willing to take a chance? How much are we willing to invest in ourselves, or how much do we really want to go ahead and move forward? Jumping real quick on what Bush was saying earlier on the communities and all that stuff about how the federal government, at the end of the day, we got to understand how everything connects. Federal government can say whatever they want to say, but the state has jurisdiction on the states. If the state does not want to go ahead and do certain things, federal government won't be able to get in. It got it. We got funds coming in and everything coming in, but if the state
checks and balances.
Exactly. If the state does not provide their part of the bargain, we're gonna see what we're seeing in certain cities, in certain states. You know what I mean? We got a sanctuary city here where I am. For me, it's a beneficial for my shipping side of the house. That's one reason why I want to stay here on that whole Asher, because I got a whole pool of Latinos that I can just have it in one location, right? But when we look at other point of views, it's different, right? It's not a good position because now you got a safe haven for areas for people to stay in certain locations. And that's what I'm talking about is like the city, the states, they all got to work together on one common ground. But what I do not like about politics when they utilize us as the citizen as a pawn for their objective. The Democrat says one thing, the Republican says one thing. Well, who's the one that's going to suffer? The individual one. You know what I'm trying to say? At the end of the day, and I think pushing the motivation and the way for people to move out is on it. I don't know how the transition from a government's perspective should come in to try to stop certain things to happen and to take advantage of the system. But I think it has to be engaged both levels, from top to bottom, from bottom to up. It has to start like with education within ourselves to start trying to stay away with it. But like Colin said, it's going to be hard for somebody's like, but in fact, I know people right now here who makes good enough money and they were getting paid over $1,200 for the CARE Act, and they're like, I might as well just stay home and collect my paycheck.
I've seen that.
And I'm like, man, you know what I mean? And I'm like, people like, you're stupid. Why you not collecting that money? You know, you can collect that money. I'm like, I do not need to collect that money. I don't think it's right to collect that money. But then I'm like, you know what? That's like $1,400-$1,500 every 2 weeks you could be pocketing. But it's not right. Because I remember the sweat that we put overseas, what we have done, you know what I mean? And I don't want to take advantage of the system. Me. That's just me personally.
No, I agree. And, you know, talking to everyone, LT, he asked, where does it start? I'll tell you, for me, it starts at home. Mm-hmm. And it starts at home. And we've talked about this whole night. One thing it comes back to is it starts at home. What's missing? The family structure from, you know, all communities, not just one. You know, a certain media wants you to believe, hey, it's just one group. It's not one group. We're all one race. We're all the human race. Mm-hmm. And that's what people forget. We're all humans. I'm white, and I've experienced struggles like anyone else. The same struggles Mark was talking about, same struggles you've talked about. Me and Sean's talked about it a lot. You know, you talk about the city of Chicago. There's a lot of politics involved. 1932 was the last Republican mayor in Chicago.
Wow. 1932,
and they actually called the city of Chicago the Windy City, not because of the wind, but because of its windy politicians. You know, go back to Al Capone and so forth. I mean, you look at all across the board, Republican cities, Democrat-ran cities. Sean's talked about it. Look at the education factor. You know, you look at a city like Oklahoma City, got conservative policies. More blacks graduate at a higher rate than whites do. You go across some of these liberal cities like Washington, D.C., Oakland, San Francisco, it's almost a 50-point difference. Some of them was 80 points.